Peace and blessings, family. This is Brother Shareef, live and direct with the Hour of Power and the Black Love Movement and the new Black Decency Movement. Here in York, PA, get ready to drop an atomic bomb that I know myself and our people need. So we'll give it a couple seconds and see if some good kings and queens come on, and we'll get rolling with it. But either way, as always, this message will be up for replay right after I get done. For those who can't tune in, for those who do tune in, if you find it beneficial, please share the message and subscribe to the channel, Our Power Shareef Hamid on YouTube, if you already haven't, and encourage others to do the same, because I believe it's some jewels on there that can lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. So tonight's message is entitled, How to Escape a Sunken Place. How to escape being in a sunken place. So I'll start out as I always do. In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. If all the trees upon the earth were pens to write with, and if all the oceans were ink, and then another 7 oceans to add to its supply, the writing would still not be enough to explain the glory of God, for he's the exalted, all-powerful, all-wise. We confide in no other in our time of need, and we praise no other in our good fortune. He is one. And even if I lived to be 1,000, it would still not be enough to thank God for his many blessings and gifts. We thank God for the Metu Neter. The Metu Neter, oracle scriptures and writings that came thousands of years on the continent of Africa before any organized religion. The Metu Neter. We thank God for Moses in the Torah, Jesus in the Gospel, and Muhammad with the Quran. We greet everyone in words of peace. To my Muslim family, Assalamu alaikum. To my Christian family, praise the Lord. To my Hebrew Israelite family, Shalom. To my Black conscious family, Hotep. And to my people in the streets, what's good to you? It all means peace. Again, this is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. Go to Our Power Shareef Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. As always, letting everyone know about events going on here in the local area on Saturday, September the 22nd, at Cherry Lane, which is the old Zakey's. Our sister is going to have the York Soul. It'll be jazz, arts, clean food, music at Saturday, September 22nd at Cherry Lane, the York Soul, the 4th annual York Soul. So please attend that, and that starts at 3 p.m. Saturday, September 22nd. And then the historic Pan-African market and gathering the next day, September 23rd, starting at 11 a.m. at Penn Park, the Pan-African market, the Pan-African gathering, in the spirit of Marcus Garvey, in the spirit of Henry Highland Garnett, in the spirit of Minister Malcolm and many, many others who put down Pan-Africanism here in America. So please attend that Sunday, September 23rd at Penn Park, starting at 11 a.m. Much, much needed. It's been a long time coming. Any other events, please let us know. And continuing on with the events, Saturday, October the 6th, they have a sister circle at 306 East King Street, starting at 2 p.m. for all sisters to come commune and build with other sisters. If you have anything on your mind, anything that's troubling you, come and build with the sisters. That is the Sister Circle, October the 6th at Closet and Career, 306 East King Street. Then the following week, October the 13th at 2 p.m., the Liberation Room, Rejuvenating the Minds, led by Lady Hamid. You can go to my wife's page, Lady Hamid, on Facebook, and to get more information. It's a $10 registration. That will also be for women. So no one can't say that there's not positive things going on around here. You just got to get linked in. That's all. And it's all to help our people and eventually humanity. So that's what's going on. So tonight's topic is called how to escape being in a sunken place. How to escape being in a sunken place. This is a topic that is taboo a lot in the black community, the Latino community, and we've all been there at some point in time, unless you're from a different planet. I'm not speaking on what I think or whatever. I'm speaking from experience of experiencing depression, and from a clinical and professional view, because I am a therapist and a counselor. I do this all the time, and I've been doing it for years. So I will give you both views, but in a way not to dazzle you with words, but to bring it as a healing. That's what the Hour of Power, the Black Love Movement, and the new Black Decency Movement is about. It's about healing. It ain't about no individual. It ain't about no shine. It's about healing and repairing our people, including myself. Depression is a bear. It is a bear. It will take you down like an avalanche if you ever experienced it. And it's normal. When it becomes abnormal is when it's constant. So I just want to give you a couple basic signs and symptoms of depression coming from your brother who does this as a profession. All right? But I'm not trying to talk over you. I'm trying to talk to you. And I'm talking to myself. It is taboo in the black community, the Latino community. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it affects our lives, our relationships, and ultimately our community. And if not checked and treated in a way, it can ultimately cause death. Yes, it can cause death. So I don't want to bore you with a bunch of clinical terms and definitions. We about know what depression is. We've probably all experienced it. It affects others more than others and in different ways, but we about know what it is. But just for the sake of the topic, I just want to give you some signs of depression. And in your own way, pray for yourself and pray for others who are suffering from this. Millions and millions of people. But you know, when America has the cold, we got the flu. We always seem to get anything that's negative, we always seem to get it worse. So some signs of depression is feeling down most of the day, especially in the morning. Feeling down most of the day, especially in the morning. I know when I had my bout, mornings were a bear. I would just get up, I would feel down. It almost took everything I had in me to get up out of the bed and go. So it's something about the mind and the brain and how it connects to depression in the morning. It is a bear. And I've heard other people who suffer from depression say the same thing about how difficult their mornings was just to get off to a good start of the day. It was very difficult. So being depressed or down most of the day, especially in the morning, a lack of energy, just don't have the energy to do too much of anything. This is a clear sign of depression. If you or someone else you love are around and you notice them or yourself going through things like this, get some help right away. And we're going to talk about what kind of help to get and the barriers of why our people don't get help. Feeling worthless, like you're not worth anything, you can't do anything right, just having a self-pity party. That is a clear sign of depression. Hard time focusing, remembering details, memory loss, a clear sign of depression. Can't sleep or sleep too much. Remember, anything in life has to have a balance, a healthy balance. Can't sleep, just up all night, just cannot sleep night after night. Everyone has a restless night every now and then. Or sleeping too much. If you see someone just sleeping the day away, day after day after day, and they can't give you no explanation of why they're just sleeping a day away, a clear sign of depression. No interest or pleasure in life. Nothing pleasures them, nothing interests them, especially things that used to interest them. They used to be into the basketball game or the football game or a certain show. No interest anymore. Used to like to play pool or something like that. Don't want to do that anymore. Things that used to interest them, The love is gone. Like this song says, no more love. Often think about death or suicide. Often thinking about death or suicide. Suicide used to be not even a thought in our community, the black community. Now I could do a whole talk on that alone about the suicide rates and the suicide attempts and the, I don't want to call it successful because it's nothing successful, but the completed act of committing suicide in the black community is out of control. And our dear brother Donnie Hathaway, our dear sister Phyllis Hyman, Vesta Williams, she used to sound like Shaka Khan, and I could go on and on and on. The amount of brothers and sisters and people in the white community too. I don't want to see anyone, you know, have an end like that. But you know, the hour of power is about our people. So many of our people who have taken a life. And what was the guy on this show that comes on CNN? Everyone thought that he was just living a life. I think his name was Anthony Bergden or something like that. Took his life. You know what I mean? The guy, Robin Williams, used to be the comedian. Now, he's supposed to be making other people happy. And here he wasn't happy. A few years ago, he took his life. We can go on and on and on. Weight gain. Unexplained weight gain. I don't need to say any more about that. Irritable. Overeating. Having aches and pains and headaches that don't go away. Man, that is really a problem, especially with our sisters. Man, I feel so bad when I see our sisters just suffering not only mentally, but physically. I'm going to say that again. Being real irritable, overeating, having aches and pains and headaches that don't go away. That is a sure sign of depression. Someone may lean on or put more emphasis on why am I in pain, and they go into the joints and stuff, but what could be the underlying cause is depression. Aches, pains, and headaches that don't go away. So those are some signs of depression. Now, what I want to go into for those that are out there, can you give me a black fist sign or a heart or emoji, even though this ain't the great topic, just to let me know that you're with me and you're learning something from this. And I hope you can take this and share it with someone and be a benefit to yourself and others. Now I want to give you 5 barriers of why our people don't typically go get help or go get counseling or therapy when they know they're depressed. 5 barriers of why our people typically don't get help when they are depressed. It isn't as simple as it looks or as it seems. Barrier number 1 or the most reason why black people don't get counseling or therapy when they are depressed or they got bipolar. I mean, I could do a whole talk on that. All of us are bipolar. It's just when you have extreme swings in mood. I'm going to say that again. All of us are bipolar. But when it comes a disorder is, because again, you're talking to a therapist, when it becomes a disorder is when you have an extreme mood swing. So I could talk to you this morning and say, hey, how you doing, sis? Well, I ain't feeling too good. And then I talk to you later on this evening and you say, you know, I'm happy. So you just had a shift in mood. Where it becomes a disorder is an extreme and a fast shift in mood. I talk to you 5 minutes on the phone, and then 5 minutes you're smiling, you're happy, and then I say, hey, I gotta use the bathroom or something. I'm gonna call you back in 3 minutes, and I call you back in 3 minutes, and you're crying a river. I'm like, I was just talking to you. What's wrong? And then when it's unexplained, you don't even know. That's an extreme shift in mood. And then if it's continuous, then that's when you're getting into being bipolar. But we're sticking with depression. 5 barriers of why black people don't get counseling. Mistrust with healthcare professionals. Mistrust with healthcare professionals, i.e. Tuskegee. Back in 1932, in Alabama, healthcare professionals went to black people who had no idea of the evil, sinister plan they had, told them they were going to do a test with them to see how syphilis works between black and white people. But what the test experiments didn't know, that they were literally injecting them meaning the men with syphilis. Then the men went and took this dreaded STD back to their women, back to their wives, and infected them. Many, many men, and some of them even died from it. That's the Tuskegee experiment in Alabama in 1932. Then you got Dr. Marion Sims, better known as Dr. Death. They got a statue of this man in Central Park in New York, and he is known as the father of gynecology, women's health. But what they don't tell you is that he was practicing gynecology on African slaves, meaning taking forceps and tools with no anesthesia and shoving them up women's vagina. Black slaves, African slaves. He did 30 operations on a slave named Anarcha alone. This is what this man used to do with no anesthesia, forceps and tools, shoving them up women's vagina. And the women will be screaming and hollering and kicking. And even some of his cohorts or doctors that was there with him said, man, she's in pain. He said, no, she don't feel any pain. These Negroes don't feel any pain. No anesthesia. He would have to hire people off of the street to pin these sisters down on the table so they wouldn't kick and scream as he was practicing gynecology. And finally, after 30 operations on Anarcha and other African slaves, he supposedly perfected gynecology. And he is supposedly the father of gynecology. And he was a doctor. You can look it up. Dr. Marion Sims. Got a statue of him in Central Park in New York. But salute to the sisters and brothers and sisters there in New York. They're fighting every day and protesting to have that statue removed. Because he's a demon. You want to force women to, as you're practicing gynecology. So things like this and many, many other. And get this book. Get this book. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. It's a long, dark history of how it's a dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present. Medical Apartheid. All the proof is there of how they have used us as guinea pigs in the healthcare system. Hence is why the number one barrier to receive counseling or healthcare in general is mistrust. Number two is cultural differences. There's only 2 to 3% of doctors in America are black. Only 2 to 3% of doctors in America are black. So if you got other doctors like Europeans and Pakistanis and Indians, that cultural barrier, that cultural difference a lot of times causes a barrier, again, almost relating back to number one, which is trust. And I ain't saying all of them mean us harm. Some of them actually mean us well and want to help us. But that cultural barrier, that cultural difference causes a barrier and makes some of us reluctant to get counseling or help, especially when they can't connect to our sojourn, our struggle here in America. They just kind of want to brush it off, or they just don't understand it. So some of us is like, man, I'll get through this depression. I'll get through this bipolar or whatever's going on with me on my own, because they don't understand me anyway. All they're going to try to do is dope me up with a bunch of medicine. Never mind. Number 3 is finances. Do you know that 25% of blacks in America don't have insurance, don't have health insurance? 25% of black people in America don't have health insurance. So when you go to get a specialized service like counseling or therapy, you gotta have health insurance unless you have the money to pay out of pocket, and that's not a pretty cost. So 25%, 1/4, and you know it's more than that. I'm just going off the statistics they're giving me. And when they give statistics, they either lowball it or it's either way more than what they're saying. They either lowball statistics or it's way more than what they're saying. They're saying 25% of blacks in America don't have health insurance. So how are you going to get counseling and therapy if you don't have health insurance? Because then if you don't have health insurance, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. And not everyone has those kind of resources to do that. So mistrust, cultural differences, finances. Number 4 barrier of why black people typically don't get mental health services is they will talk about the physical help that they need, but very rare will they talk about mental health. That's just taboo in the black community. I'm going to say it again. Black people talk about, oh, my knee hurts. I need to go to the doctor. My back hurts. I need to go to the doctor. My blood pressure is a little high. I need to go to the doctor. My sugar is a little high. I need to go to the doctor. But how many black people you say, I'm just not feeling right mentally? Something's not right. I'm not feeling well. I need to go see a counselor. I need to go see a therapist. I need to go see a psychologist. I need to go see a psychiatrist. I am not in a good place. I'm in a sunken place. We seen it. I am in a sunken place. How many black people do you hear say that? So they're saying that, and I have to agree with this because I'm in the mental health field. We will talk about our physical ailments and attend to them. Some of us won't even do that. I used to be that, but I go to the doctor regularly now. Just was there about a week or two ago. But many of us will not attend to our mental health. We will not attend to our mental health, but all these things are connected. And the fifth barrier of why black people don't get mental health is, and this may be the deepest cutting one, religion. Religion. 85% of blacks claim some kind of religion. I'm going to say it again. 85% of blacks claim some kind of religion, including myself. I'm a Muslim, but I try to be a free-thinking Muslim. It's a difference. So most of our people in America, they're Christian, right? I'm not picking on them, but I'm just going off my observation. If they have a mental health crisis, a lot of them will say, well, Jesus will fix it, or Muhammad will fix it, or I'll just pray it away. But statistics and personal observation will show us that the prayer doesn't make the depression, the bipolar, the schizophrenia, the mood disorders go away. Sometimes it gets worse. One time I used to watch a show, it was called Deadly Women. It used to come on satellite TV. And this show was about women who were serial killers in America and abroad, but particularly here in America. It was called Deadly Women. It used to be one of my favorite shows. And it was about this lady who, she had about 4 or 5 children. It was like back in the day. And her husband would travel a lot, and he was doing a lot of other things too on the side. But anyway, he would leave her home with these 4 or 5 children. And it would about drove her crazy. She wasn't able to have any kind of social life. All she did was take care of these children. And it caused a mental disorder called schizophrenia, which came here in 1915, and it mostly affected stay-at-home white mothers. Schizophrenia did. And this, her circumstances at home about drove her crazy, drove her to schizophrenia. She knew something wasn't right. She went to her pastor and said, Pastor, something isn't right. I'm not feeling well. I'm hearing voices. I'm seeing things. What should I do? He said, Jesus will fix it. He said, Jesus will fix it. Well, that didn't work. She ended up killing all 4 or 5 of her children. One of the saddest things I've ever seen. She dusted off all 4 of them. The prayer didn't work. You want to know why? Not that prayer don't work, because I'm a Muslim. We pray 5 times a day at the least, and some in between, called dua. We believe in prayer, but we're also taught you have to put some action behind your prayer. And if you're a Christian, your Bible tells you that. It says prayer without works is dead. And in the Quran, it says God will only fix the condition of man until man fixes his own condition. You just can't pray away depression. You have to put some work behind it. So when these pastors and ministers have someone coming to them, especially if they're not skilled in mental health, and they could be suffering from a life-threatening or a debilitating mental health disorder, and you tell them, just pray it away, and you walk away, you're not helping them. You're putting them at risk, which we saw in that documentary. Look it up. It's on Deadly Women. So again, 85% of blacks in, I guess this is nationwide, or in America, they claim some kind of faith. And what they do, a lot of them use their faith as the primary and only tool to combat mental health and depression. That's my point with that. That's their point. 85% of blacks claim some kind of religion, and they use their religion and their faith as the primary and only source to get rid or combat depression, anxiety, mood disorders, the whole nine. You can't pray away depression. I'm sorry. You got to put some work behind it. You got to put some work behind it. Prayer without works is dead. It's dead. Don't just think about praying away depression. All right? What else do I want to cover? Now, this ain't no new thing. Y'all all right out there? Not too many people joining us tonight. I know NFL is on and all, but please share this message. I think it's beneficial for our people. Depression and trials and tribulations is nothing new. Now, I know most of my audience, let me get a drink of water, most of my audience is Christian. I don't have no problem with that. But the audience is growing. We got black conscious, we have some Muslims, right? But I'm going to show you something from the Bible that this isn't nothing new about depression, trials, tribulations, and with less resources and less outlets, people from the past, if you believe in the Bible, went through the same thing and they got through it. So I want to give you a couple quick examples of how people from the past, if you believe in that, and if you don't, that's fine. Maybe you can just learn from the story. How they went through trials and tribulations and how they dealt with it. And this, people act like depression and trials and tribulations is something new. It's age old. David, from David the psalmist, he suffered from anguish, loneliness, and fear of his enemies, and he lost his sons. And in Psalms 38:4, he said, "My guilt has overwhelmed me like a burden too heavy to bear." That's what David said in the Bible. So they don't, in the Bible, it doesn't use the exact word depression, but it's a lot of synonyms in the Bible. It's basically, they're saying the same thing. And again, David the psalmist said, he suffered from anguish, loneliness, fear of his enemies, and he lost his sons. And he said, "My guilt has overwhelmed me like a burden too heavy to bear." Elijah, in the Bible, he was discouraged, he was weary, he was afraid, and he said, I've had enough, my Lord, take my life. Going back to the growing epidemic of suicide in the black community. Listen to what he said. He was discouraged, he was weary, and he was afraid, and he said, "I have had enough, my Lord, take my life." That's in Kings 19, verse 4. He said, "Take my life." Some of us get so overwhelmed, or we think no one is hearing us or don't care about us, and we get to the point of suicide. Man, pay attention to your people. It is too many forms of communication today not to check on your loved one. Anyone that knows me will bear witness that I'll send you a text message, an instant message, a phone call, something, and I'll say, "Peace, King, peace, Queen. How you doing today, King? How you doing today, Queen?" I mean, you got instant messenger, text messaging, with the cell phone, Instagram. You got all these forms of communication. Check on your loved ones. It takes a couple of seconds. Look how gracious God is, how masterful he is, how he has given us all these tools to check on people. Some people are sinking in that sunken place. It is a lot of people as we speak are in that sunken place. And if someone don't bring them out of that sunken place, they're going to keep on sinking, and they're going to sink themselves right on out of this planet. Sister Akila said, "Repeat the 5 barriers again." Sure, Queen, let me get through this part, and I'll go right back to there. Hang on in there with me. Jonah said Jonah wanted to run away, and he was swallowed supposedly by a giant fish. And he said, "Now, my Lord, once again, take my life. It's better for me to die than to have to go through this." This was Jonah, the supposed story of him being in a whale's belly for 3 days. Whether you believe it or not, it's still talking about trials and tribulations. And he wanted to run away from his calling. And he said, "Lord, take my life. It's better for me to die than have to live through this pain and sorrow." That's in Jonah 4, chapter 3. So suicide, being in anguish and going through trials and tribulations is nothing new for us. Nothing new. Job, y'all heard about Job before. He lost everything. He lost everything, and he had a crazy ass wife. His wife doubted him, wondered why he kept on going, and she said, why are you still holding on to this? Why? If this is a curse from God, why don't you just die? That's what his wife told him. So he lost everything, and he had a crazy wife. This is Job, and it's in Job chapter 2, verse 9, if you don't believe me. He had a crazy ass wife. She said, why are you still holding on? The curse of God is upon you. Why don't you just die? I mean, it's not funny, but for the love of God, what the man must have been going through, if you believe it. He lost everything, everything. And then his supposed soulmate, his pal, his confidant said, why are you still holding on? The curse of God is upon you. Why don't you just die? My goodness, what that man must have went through. Moses grieved over the sins of his people. Moses grieved over the sins of his people. Jeremiah, known as the weeping prophet. The weeping, hey, we having church tonight. I never thought I'd see a Muslim have church. Yeah, because we're taught to speak to the people in the language of the people so they may understand. Yeah, you didn't know that about Muslims, did you? Muslims is the proper way to say it. Yeah, speak to the people in the language of the people so you may understand. Finally, Jeremiah, known as the weeping prophet, he said, a curse be on the day that I was born. Why did I come out of my mother's womb? Just to see trouble and sorrow. That's what Jeremiah said. And he's known as the weeping prophet, always going through it, always up against it. Does that sound familiar? I know it does for me. No sooner than one thing comes up, here comes something else. But we got to keep on pushing on. We got to keep on pushing on. We got to keep on pushing on. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't never give up. And people, if you love people who are around you, check on them. Check on them. We got too much technology not to check on them. How many times have you heard people say this? This is Jeremiah talking. This is in Jeremiah chapter 20, 14 and 18. He said, a curse is on me this day, meaning the day that I was born. Why did I even come out of the womb of my mother just to see trouble and sorrow all the time? That's what Jeremiah said. And this is what God says. God says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. This is God talking. He says, God is close to those who are brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. And the Quran says similar things. Turn your whole self to God. Turn your whole self to God and believe and trust in him. Turn your whole self to God, believe and trust in him, and put all your faith in the Most High. Not in a man, but in God. That's what Quran says all throughout the Quran. Now, our sister wanted me to repeat the 5 barriers of why black people don't get counseling and mental health. I'm going to repeat them for our sister Akila. Number 1 is mistrust. Mistrust in the healthcare system because of the long history of our mistreatment and us being used as guinea pigs in healthcare. Get this book, it lays it out. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington, a dark history of medical experimentation. That means they were experimenting on us like guinea pigs, i.e. the Tuskegee experiment with syphilis, i.e. Dr. Death Marion Sims practicing gynecology on black women, forcing black women on the operating table, did 30 operations on a slave named Anarcha alone until he perfected, so to speak, gynecology, going up in her vagina and other African slaves' vagina with forceps and tools with no anesthesia. Could you imagine the pain of that? Forceps and tools with no anesthesia. And even some of his cohorts and flunkies said, she's in pain, doc. He said, no, these niggers don't feel no pain. A dark history of medical experimentation on black Americans from colonial times to the present. Medical Apartheid, one of the most powerful books I have ever read. So that's number 1, mistrust. Number 2, cultural differences. Cultural differences. A lot of these doctors don't understand us. So no wonder black people are reluctant to go to them for help. Only 2 to 3% of doctors in America are black. 2 to 3%. I am shocked when I see someone black when I go to a doctor's office. Even if it's a dentist, I'm like, hey, I'm glad to see you. Okay, number 3, finances. Only 25% of black people in America, 25% of black people in America don't have insurance to get mental health services. 25% or 1/4 of blacks in America don't have health insurance. That is a specialty service because that's what I do. Again, I'm a therapist. You just can't walk in there and get mental health services. You got to have insurance. And if you don't have insurance, you got to pay the copay, and that copay ain't too nice. So that is a deterrent of why a lot of black people don't get health, mental health services. So we got mistrust, cultural differences, finances. 25% of blacks don't have health insurances. Number 4 is many blacks will get physical help, but they won't get mental health. Many blacks will get physical health, but they won't get mental health. Meaning my knee hurts, my back hurts, my sugar is high, my blood pressure is high. I need to go get a pill. But then when you're off the hook, you're seeing things, you're hearing things, you're uncontrollably crying. Do you know how many many of our sisters have been beaten, which we're going to concentrate on in October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and they suffer from what you call TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, which causes a huge shift in moods, irritable, uncontrollably crying, aggressive. All you got to do is Google the effect of TBIs on black women, and it will give you scholarly articles. I've taken classes on it. It about blew my mind because I never heard of it. They called me in, they said, Shareef, you got to come to this class. I said, oh, here we go, another one of these boring trainings. So I'm sitting there, TBIs, this and that, and when they start talking about the effects and the amount of black women today walking around with TBIs untreated, and I said, well, what's the side effects? They said aggression, uncontrollably crying, can't control their emotions, and then some black men, knowingly or unknowingly, say, I can't deal with her. She's just so difficult to deal with. Yeah, when I start hearing that, the first thing I ask is, I wonder if she was beaten. I wonder if that sister was thrown down a flight of steps. I wonder if some 250, 260, 270 pound man was beating on this 150, 160 pound sister, hitting her in the head, and she ain't getting no treatment. Or she might have went to the emergency room because she was so confused, but then to get no treatment after that. Your brain is like sitting on jello. If it gets shaken like that's what you call a concussion. That just don't go away. And the side effects of TBIs is a huge shift in mood and behavior. No wonder some of our sisters are so fragile, so sensitive, or start crying if the wind blows wrong. I'm not making fun. I'm just telling you from my own observation of being a therapist and just dealing with black women, how fragile some of our sisters are from TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. Look it up. So we'll get physical help, but won't get mental health help. Oh, I'm not feeling good today. I'm not in a good place. I'm in a sunken place. I'm in a sunken place from the movie Get Out. I'm in a sunken place. A lot of us won't do anything about that. We'll just keep being in a sunken place. And when someone close to you is in a sunken place, it is going to affect other people. If they're in a marriage or a relationship, it's going to affect them. And if they don't get help and it persists, then it's going to affect the society. Someone can bump into them wrong. People get into scraps and resort to violence because of being in that sunken place and not getting mental health. This is serious, family. Do you know how many people are depressed and not getting any help or feel like they don't have any outlet? Look how our sister was crying out to us, meaning Phyllis Hyman, feeling all alone. She made several songs crying out to the world how depressed she was, and then finally she took her own life. May she rest in peace. And others, what about Vesta, the sister who they say sounded just like Shaka Khan? She just died a couple years ago. Well, she committed suicide. What about her? Crying out for help. What about Donny Hathaway? They say he jumped off of a building. Suicide is through the roof in the black community. It's no longer taboo. And then the fifth reason, so again, mistrust, cultural differences, finances, will get physical help, but not mental health. The fifth barrier of why black people don't get counseling is religion. Religion. 85% of black people in America claim some kind of religion. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hebrew Israelite, Kemetic, whatever. But many of them will use that as the primary and only source to combat their mental health, especially in the church. I'm going to just have to be straight up, because most of our people are in the church. That's still the dominant religion, right? Just pray it away. Go to the pastor. He ain't trained in mental health a lot of time, and he telling you just pray it away. But the prayers ain't helping. Not by itself, because it says prayer without work is dead. And in the Quran it says God will only change the condition of man until man first changes his own condition. Meaning you got to do some work. You just can't pray about it. Just can't pray about it. And I gave you the example of the woman who went to her pastor. She developed schizophrenia from taking care of all them children by herself. Went to the pastor and said she was hearing audible voices. That's another thing that's plaguing the black community. Schizophrenia. Hearing voices. Seeing things, hearing things, being extremely paranoid. And he said, Jesus will fix it. Well, Jesus didn't fix it. She ended up killing all her children. So there you go, family. I think I have given you everything I wanted to give you. The 5 barriers. I've given you some signs of depression. The 4th barrier will get physical help versus mental health. Yes, yes. And I gave you the signs of depression. Where's that at? I can run them through. Feeling down, lack of energy, feeling worthless, hard time focusing and remembering, can't sleep, no interest in pleasure, often thinks about death or suicide, weight gain, being very irritable, overeating, having aches, pains, and headaches that don't go away. Those are the clear signs of depression. Finishing out. So what's the solution? Exercise, positive thoughts. Get up first thing in the morning. I need to get back to this and take a walk. Get that that melatonin going and that serotonin, which is a chemical in your brain, going. When you're depressed, that's a clear sign that you have a depletion of serotonin in the brain, which regulates your mood. Get that serotonin going by exercising, drinking water. Take a cold shower, drink cold water. All that brings blood pressure down and reduces depression. Eat well. Leave off the McDonald's and the Wendy's, which increases your appetite and destroys your body. Eat more green. Green means life. Green means life. Yes, work out. Exercise. Get that melatonin and that serotonin going in your brain. Surround yourself with positive people and go to someone who you can confide in to discuss your issues. If it's a mental health professional, go to a mental health professional. If it's a sage in the community, like Imhotep, the mankind's first doctor, the builder of the first stair-step pyramid, he was also a sage and a counselor. He had like 50 jobs. Go to someone like that. I think a brother named Imhotep will be speaking at the Pan-African market, if I ain't mistaken. Someone may say, Brother Shareef, you're a therapist. Should I take some medicine? That is up to you. I'm not no fan of medicine because I believe happiness comes from within. I don't believe you can put things in your body to cure something that is deficient that comes from within. But I'm not telling you not to take it. If you are a harm to yourself or a danger to someone else, you may need a pill to stabilize you. But be careful. Be careful of just taking medicines written and documented by one of their own. Look at this book, Death by Medicine. You may not see this book anyone else. Death by Medicine, a comprehensive documentary by Dr. Gary Knoll of how medicine has killed people. how medicine has killed people for a lot of different reasons of why they prescribed it. It's all in here. Death by medicine. Documented proof how medicine has caused countless deaths of people prescribed by doctors over the last few years. They have a term for it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but definitely get this book called Death by Medicine. But the term I want to give you, I should have looked it up before, it's called, I believe it's called intravenous death. And it's basically inadvertent death caused by medicine prescribed by a doctor. Death by medicine. Death by medicine. That's my piece for tonight. Get this book also. Medical Apartheid. So if you need help, I can't do everything, but your brother is here for you. This is what I do. Get help. Don't keep being in a sunken place. We've all been through it. We've all been through it. We all go through it. We all have those feelings. But if it's day after day and extended for a whole day and you're sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, eating too much or not eating enough, crying uncontrollably, can't control your emotions, the smallest thing has you in a sunken place. And this is continuous, day after day. I've been there. Something's wrong, family, and there's nothing wrong with going to get help. Don't keep being in a sunken place. It's nothing new. I gave you the verses of how Job, Jeremiah, Moses, and David, they all went through it, and many more. And with less resources, they got through it mostly because their belief in the Most High, but they had to put work with it. You just can't pray it away. And anyone who tells you to just pray it away, you should run away from them. You should run away from them. If they just telling you, they just don't want to deal with your problems. That don't seem like real genuine concern. Oh, just pray it away and Jesus and Muhammad will fix it. Really? Really? Some of these people who call themselves spiritual leaders ought to be ashamed of themselves. Ought to be ashamed of themselves. Just because you have a title, and especially ones like that, that don't mean you've earned it. The white man is giving out any old kind of damn title these days. You can get a damn title with spirituality out of a damn Cracker Jack box, as long as you got money to pay for it. Just because you got that title, that don't mean God ordained it. It is those who are humble, those who are doing and attempting to do God's work. That's his real leaders. That's his real children. They are the leaders, the ones that we should turn to. You mean to tell me you gotta pay to be a child or a leader of God? Where did that come from? Where did that come from that you gotta pay or go to a school to be a child of God? What school did Jesus go to? Come on, talk to me now. What school did Moses go to? Now, they were learned men, but what college did they go to? I don't believe they went to any, because God didn't want their minds polluted by man. So you mean to tell me you got to go to school now to be a man of God? Oh, really? I forgot to bring it with me, family. Brother Shareef is selling bean pies now. So if you're in the area and you want a bean pie, I forgot to show it, but I have bean pies. Hit me up, inbox me, or call me at 919-265-4119 if you want a nice, fresh, healthy bean pie with navy beans in it. The medical and the spiritual benefit of navy beans is out of this world. So don't let the word bean pie turn you away. It is delicious. Brought to us by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you for that, sir, and your many other contributions to our people, and many, many others, which you will learn about at the Pan-African Marketing Gathering this Sunday coming up, September 23rd at 11 a.m. at Penn Park. Get help. Don't be in a sunken place. I leave you in peace as I came. Assalamu alaikum.